Well, hi, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. I wanted to come to you today with my TBR list for the year 2022. I've done this. I'm coming on my third year on BookTube, and this was I believe, the very first video I ever did for 2020, and then I did one for 2021, and here I am again for 2022. Now, the problem with TBR lists is I have yet to get one completely wiped out. And I don't know, maybe that's on me. Obviously it is. But I tend to put a whole bunch of books in between my TBR lists, and then I don't end up getting them done. But I always like to just give you some plans of what I would really, really like to get read in 2022. So, anyway, this is my Happy New Year to everybody. I guess I should say that first of all. Happy New Year. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope everybody enjoys this list. So I have got in the works here, typically what I do is 12 nonfiction books that I plan on reading, one for each month. That's just how I've done it the last couple years. But this year I want to add in, since I read so much fiction last year and I wanted to kind of continue reading some of these fiction, I've also added in 5 fiction books. So let's start with the fiction, get those knocked out. All right, so I'm thinking ahead, and I'm thinking of March Mystery Madness. And there are 2 mysteries. I guess this is not a mystery. This is more of a thriller. One mystery that I really want to get read. I had this on my list for last year, plans to get it read, and then I just didn't end up doing it. But I keep seeing people put up videos on BookTube about how good this book is. And I have never read an Agatha Christie, and so I am going to read And Then There Were None. That is my plans for 2022 for March Mystery Madness. This is my number one book that I want to get knocked out and read so that I can join that conversation. The next fiction book that I want to get read is last year I read my very first Ian Fleming James Bond thriller, and I read, hang on a second, I read Casino Royale last year, and I liked it. Not my favorite book, just the style of it, but I liked it because it explained a lot of things that happened in the movie that I didn't always totally understand, because I'll be honest, I like James Bond movies, but I usually watch them on a Saturday afternoon, so nap time. And so usually I fall asleep, and then I wake up at the end and I'm trying to figure out what happened. And so this book answered some of those questions. So I wanted to go into my next James Bond book, From Russia with Love. And I've heard good things about this book, that it's a pretty good one. And so that is on my reading list. And again, these 2 books that I chose, they're both under 200 pages. Excuse me. The Agatha Christie one's 204. 204, and then the James Bond book is 191. So those should not take any time at all. I could probably knock those out in a couple afternoons. The next books that I want to get into now, I reread John Jakes' Kemp Family Chronicles, that 8-volume set. I reread those all the time. Every couple of years I come back and read through all of them. Last year I read through the first couple as a buddy read with Scott at the Bookish Bryants. And I think in the future we're going to move forward in that series. I don't think we ever set a date on that, but I look forward to it if we do. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to go back and reread John Jakes' book, Homeland. Now, I read a chapter out of this with my kids at school. It's kind of an edited chapter, but I make it fit during our immigration unit, because this whole series is about a German boy who immigrates to America in the late 1800s, and it's about his experiences on the boat ride over, and then once he gets to America, all the stuff he has to go through to become a successful young man. And then the next book is American Dreams, which is the sequel to Homeland. And I loved these books when I read them, but I have not read the entire thing for I bet it's been 15 years at least. And so I would like to go back and reread those books. I really look forward to that. I think it's going to be a joy. All right. And then the fifth book, the last book of the fiction books that I want to get read, that's on my goals. And it is from the Century Trilogy by Ken Follett. Now, this is not number 2 because number 2's upstairs and my girls are still asleep, so I'm not going to go wake them up. But Winter of the World is going to be on my list of books that I want to read. I absolutely loved Fall of Giants, the very first book. I loved it. I thought it was great. Read pretty fast. Now, these are chunky books, but they read very, very fast. They're around 1,000 pages. Yep, this one's 1,000. Let's see. 1,094. This the third one. The second one's a big one, just like that. So I look forward to reading those, and they are just like they say, the Century Trilogy. They started out around the year. The first book's around World War I is where the storyline kind of focuses, and it talks about all kinds of issues, man. The progressive movement, the war itself, just everything going on during the time period. And Ken Follett makes an excellent story. And I look forward to book 2, where it just picks up where book 1 left off. So those are my plans for my fiction reads. And maybe I need to make a big old checklist so that I can see that visually throughout the year and, make checks on that. But most importantly, let me introduce you to the 12 books for the 12 months of 2022. So, one of the books, another huge endeavor, is going to be Grant by Ron Chernow. I have read Ron Chernow's book on Washington and on Alexander Hamilton. I loved both of the books. I suspect I'm going to like this one as well. He is an excellent writer. This book came out, when did it? I can't remember when it came out. It was a couple years ago, but I finally got this I want to say it was last year I got it, and now I need to read it. And maybe it was 2 years ago I got it. It's recently, but I want to get that one read. The Life of Ulysses S. Grant. Another book that I picked up that I'd been wanting. I'd seen it online. I listened to Joanne Freeman. She's from Yale University, I believe. And I listened to her YouTube. You can listen to her teach, and absolutely free. Wonderful. Go check it out. And she does early American history all the way through. Like this one talks about the antebellum period. And so this is the next book I want to get read this year. And this was, I believe, on last year's list, but The Field of Blood, Violence in Congress, and the Road to Civil War. And so this just goes through all of the violent occasions that happened in Congress. Obviously, the Charles Sumner account, but it also has a few other ones where guns were pulled, fist fights broke out. It makes you realize that everything that goes on in Congress right now, that's not new. It might be a different version of it with the media that we have today, but the extreme sides of a story of issues, that is nothing new. That's been around forever, and she tells part of that story here. The next one that I got, that is a brand new book that I got just for Christmas, is The Cause, The American Revolution and Its Discontents, from 1773 to 1783, and this is by Joseph J. Ellis, who is an absolutely wonderful Revolutionary era historian. He is a great storyteller, and if you ever get to listen to him in YouTube videos, go check him out. He's a great storyteller, great conversationalist. He's one of my all-time favorite authors, and so I really look forward to this book, and it's one, I believe, his newest one that's out, I think. So anyway, the next book on my list here, the fourth book, is Meade at Gettysburg, A Study in Command by Kent Masterson Brown. This is a new book that came out, obviously, about Meade at Gettysburg. Steve Donahue sent this to me in the mail. I thank you for that, Steve, and I'm going to try to get this read this year. It is definitely on my hit list. Gettysburg, I have been to the battlefield. I enjoy reading about the battle. I'm not a genius on it by any means, but I have read quite a bit on it, at least for an average person, I suppose. Can't wait to see what he says about Meade here. The next book, and I got this last Christmas and never got it opened this year, but I want to get it started. And this is Alan Nevins's. He had a whole series on the antebellum and Lincoln and Civil War. It was like an 8-volume set. I bought it in 4 volumes where they combined 2 books per volume. And this series, I believe, won the Pulitzer, I think. I don't remember which book, if it did. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, I know it did very, very well. Winner of the, let's see, Bancroft Award. I thought it won the Pulitzer too. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. Well, it says Alan Nevins is a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner and was one of the America's leading historians in the 20th century. So anyway, it might not have won the Pulitzer, one of the books in the series, but Ordeal of the Union, Volume 1, The Fruits of Manifest Destiny, 1847 to 1852, and then A House Dividing, 1852 to 1857. And so I'm going to get the plastic off of this bad boy, and I want to dive in. One of my very first videos, or early on, my first couple months on BookTube, when people started realizing that I read a lot on the Civil War, this book got brought up time and time and time again on you need to read this book. And so I'm going to get to it. A book that I picked up not that long ago, may have been a year ago, I can't remember, maybe a year and a half. I can't remember exactly when the years blend together. Anyway, is The Washingtons, George and Martha, Joined by Friendship, Crowned by Love, and it's by Flora Fraser. And I really look forward to that. I always try to read at least one Lincoln and one George Washington book every year. It's my 2 favorite people to read about, and I find them fascinating and interesting. And so this is the one I think I'm going to try to tackle this year. Next book on the list, and this one will be the very first book. I'm starting this tomorrow. This will be the very first book off of this 2022 TBR list that I'm going to tackle, and I am really looking forward to it. It's The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt by Edmund Morris, and can't speak enough of Edmund Morris. Can't speak enough of Roosevelt. He is a fascinating character, one of my favorite people to read about. I've read a few books on him, but I have not read the Morris trilogy. And so this is book 1 of the trilogy. And Edmund Morris is just a wonderful, wonderful writer. This is also, if you look in comment sections throughout my couple years on BookTube, everybody always brings up, if the topic goes to Roosevelt, they always ask, have you read the Edmund Morris series? And so hopefully I will be able to at least say I've read the first one, and I will be getting to this next couple. All right, now the next 2, I got a couple buddy reads that we've got in store. This first one is, and I don't know exactly when we'll get to this, but Catastrophe 1914, Europe Goes to War by Max Hastings. Look forward to that. World War I is one of my favorite topics in school to teach. I have not read as much as I probably need to, though. I've studied up on it a little bit, but I have not read a lot of whole books on it. Not nearly as many as I've read on the Civil War and on the American Revolution. I would like to start to fix that because World War I was fascinating. When you talk about the war itself, it is new technology meets old styles of fighting, and I always find it fascinating how dumb some of the generals could be at the time, and it took them so long to adjust their war strategies, and so many people lost their lives. So this book is going to focus on what led up to that war and that very first year. And of course, Max Hastings, I have never read him myself, but like in my World War II magazines, his books are always on the back cover or in advertisements. Everybody always talks about him. He's a very good author that everybody loves to read. So I am going to dip into Max Hastings' book for the very first time, and I will let you know what I think. So another buddy read that I'm going to do, and this one will probably be soon, is Robert E. Lee, A Life by Alan Gelzo. And I plan on doing this one with Peg at the History Shelf, and she is also a big-time Civil War guru. She's read way more than I have, but I want to try to keep up. So we're going to read this one together. Really cool cover. I like how it wraps around like that. Alan Gelzo, one of my favorite authors of Civil War books. I love Alan Gelzo's books. He's just a wonderful, wonderful writer. He has done a lot of stuff on Lincoln in the Civil War, and so I look forward to seeing what he has to say about Robert E. Lee. All right, the next book is The Hemmingses of Monticello, An American Family by Annette Gordon Reed. And this one, at the moment, I believe is a planned buddy read, and it was, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And this is all about Thomas Jefferson and his relationship with Sally Hemings and just the Hemings family at Monticello. And I've watched some book talks by Annette Gordon Reed. Some during COVID, they did some online stuff, and I've seen that. I've seen her give talks to large groups of people online. She's a great historian, so I can't wait to see what she has to say about that whole situation. Now, my Lincoln book that I really want to get read is Volume 2 of Sidney Blumenthal's series on Lincoln, The Political Life of Abraham Lincoln. This one's Wrestling with His Angel, 1849 to 1856. So this one's going to be the first two-thirds of the antebellum period, and so I really look forward to that. It's one of my favorite periods of all time to read about and study, and so I can't wait to see what Sidney Blumenthal has to say about Abraham Lincoln. And the last book on the list, get out of the American history and get into a little bit of world history. And this is John Hardman's biography, Marie Antoinette, The Making of a French Queen. And I always teach about the French Revolution and stuff like that. So this will go right in with that, because as you know, she married Louis XVI, and that was the end of the French, right before the French Revolution. And I can't wait to see what he has to say. I love that cover. That cover is kind of neat. So anyway, hope everyone is having a good day. I hope everybody has made plans for their reading year of 2022. Hopefully you can get through those TBR lists. I have plans, but my plans always go out the window, it seems. So I don't know if I'll get through all these, but these are the ones that I am going to really work on trying to get done. So anyway, BookTube, I hope everyone is doing well, having a great day, getting some reading done over this Christmas, New Year's holiday. So until next time, happy reading.